In the heart of Nkwo village lived a young man named Kobina. Tall, smooth-skinned, and always well-dressed, he walked through the village like a prince without a crown. The women smiled when he passed by, and the men either admired him or warned their daughters to stay far away. Kobina was not just handsome, he was dangerous in a quiet way. He knew how to say the right words, offer the right gifts, and make every girl feel like she was the only one. But once he had her heart, he would leave. Just like that. No goodbye. No explanation. He would simply vanish and move on to the next. The village called him the butterfly. Not because he was beautiful, but because he never stayed long in one place. His mother, Mama Efua, often said, "My son is a king. All the girls want him. Let him enjoy life." But the old women at the market shook their heads. "Too many broken hearts," one would whisper. "That boy is playing with fire." But Kobina didn't listen. To him, life was fun. Love was a game. And he was the master. One warm evening, as the sun was setting, Kobina sat under the big tree near the village square. He was laughing with his friends when he saw someone he had never seen before. She walked slowly, carrying a basket of herbs. Her skin was smooth and glowing. She wore a simple white dress, her hair in neat braids. She looked like someone who didn't care for attention, but her quiet beauty made people stop and stare. Kobina leaned forward. "Who is that?" he asked his friend. "Oh, that's the new girl. She just came to stay with her aunt," his friend replied. "I think her name is Ifya." Kobina smiled. "She's different. I like that." He stood up, brushed the dust from his trousers, and walked toward her. When he reached her, he flashed his best smile. "Good evening, beautiful," he said. Ifya looked up, her eyes calm and unreadable. "Good evening," she replied softly. Kobina tried again. "I haven't seen you around before. Are you new here?" "Yes. I came to help my aunt." "She is sick," Ifya answered, her voice steady. Kobina nodded. "That's kind of you." "I'm Kobina." "I know," Ifya said. That surprised him. "Oh. You've heard of me." "I've heard enough," she replied and walked away without another word. Kobina stood there, stunned. No girl had ever done that to him. Not one. He turned back to his friends, trying to laugh it off, but something about her stayed in his mind. Later that night, as he lay on his mat, he thought about her eyes. They were not angry, not shy, just calm. Like she already knew who he was. Like she was not impressed. He smiled to himself. "She wants to play hard to get," he said. "Let's see how long she lasts." But deep inside, for the first time in his life, Kobina felt something strange, curiosity. And with it came a challenge. Not to win her heart, but to understand why she wasn't like the others. What Kobina didn't know was that Ifya was not like the others at all. And this time, the game he loved so much might just break him instead. For the next few days, Kobina couldn't stop thinking about Ifya. He saw her often, fetching water, buying herbs, or walking slowly to her aunt's small house near the edge of the village. She never looked his way, never smiled, never paused when he tried to greet her. The other women used to laugh and wave. Some even ran to hug him. But Ifya? She walked past him like he was a ghost. It was driving Kobina mad. He began asking questions. Who is she? Where did she come from? Has she ever been in love? The answers were always the same. Her name is Ifya. Her parents are gone. She came to take care of her aunt. That's all we know. Kobina couldn't believe it. A girl like her, with no past, no stories. Impossible. One evening, he tried again. He saw her standing under the mango tree, alone, looking at the sky. The orange sun made her skin glow like gold. He took a deep breath and walked over. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" he said, standing beside her. She didn't answer. "I brought something for you," he added, holding out a small necklace made of cowrie shells and blue beads. It was delicate and lovely, just like her. Ifya looked at it, then looked at him. "Why are you giving me this?" she asked. Kobina grinned. "Because I like you." She shook her head slowly. "You don't know me. You like how I look. That's not the same." Kobina tried to laugh. "That's how everything begins." "No," she replied. "That's how you begin. With gifts, sweet words, and lies." Kobina frowned. "You think I'm lying?" "I know your type," Ifya said calmly. "You chase. You catch. Then you leave." Kobina's pride burned. No girl had ever spoken to him like this. But he kept smiling. "I'm not like that," he lied. Ifya looked at him quietly for a long moment, then said, "Let me make this clear. I don't want your gifts. If you're looking for a toy, look somewhere else." Then she walked away again, just like the first time. Kobina stood frozen. His heart raced, not with anger, but with something deeper. He didn't know if he was insulted or impressed. Maybe both. That night, his friends noticed he was quiet. Still chasing the silent girl, one of them laughed. Kobina only nodded. "She's not like the others." One friend leaned in. "Be careful, Kobina. Sometimes the quiet ones carry heavy spirits." But Kobina didn't listen. He had made up his mind. He would win Ifya. Not just to prove he could, but because, deep down, he wanted to know what made her different. So, he changed his style. No more fancy words. No more expensive gifts. He started helping her aunt without being asked. He fetched water. He fixed a broken fence. He cleaned the yard. He greeted Ifya every day with a simple "good morning" and never asked for anything in return. Ifya noticed. She didn't say it, but she watched him closely. Weeks passed. Slowly, she began to speak to him. Nothing deep, just simple questions. "How is your mother? Did you fix the fence? Have you eaten today?" To Kobina, these small words were like treasures. Then one day, as he walked her home after market, she stopped and turned to him. "You're trying hard to look like a good man," she said softly. "Maybe I'm trying because I want to be one," he replied. Ifya looked at him with those calm eyes. "Just remember, some hearts don't forget." And with that, she entered her aunt's house, leaving Kobina to wonder what she really meant. But he didn't care. He was falling for her. Truly. Or so he believed. It was the beginning of the rainy season in Hua village. The skies were grey, the air was cool, and the scent of wet earth filled the air. For the first time in years, Kobina wasn't chasing other girls. His eyes were fixed on one person, Ifya. She had changed him in a way he didn't understand. He woke up thinking about her. He smiled when he saw her from a distance. And each time she spoke to him, even if it was only one sentence, he felt something warm inside. For once, he wasn't rushing. He wasn't lying. He wasn't pretending. He started learning about her. He discovered she liked quiet places, stories by the fire, and cooking with special herbs her mother had taught her about. She believed in dreams and signs. She didn't talk much, but when she did, her words stayed with you. One evening, Ifya invited Kobina to her home. Her aunt had gone to visit a relative in another village, and Ifya had made fufu and light soup. He was surprised, but excited. He dressed neatly, brought her oranges and groundnuts, and walked to her house with butterflies in his stomach. When he arrived, she welcomed him with a soft smile, the first real one he had ever seen on her face. They ate together and talked for hours. The conversation was light at first, funny stories, village gossip, and memories of childhood. Then it turned deeper. Ifya spoke about pain, betrayal, and loss. "I trusted someone once," she said. "He made promises. Then broke every single one." Kobina lowered his head. "I used to be like that," he admitted. "But not anymore. Not with you." She looked into his eyes, long and hard. Then she nodded. "I believe you, for now." It was the first time she had said she trusted him, even just a little. After the meal, it began to rain. Gently at first, then louder, until the sound of it filled the small room. "Looks like you'll be here a while," Ifya said, her voice soft. Kobina laughed nervously. "I don't mind." They sat close, side by side. Then Ifya reached for his hand. Her fingers were warm, steady. "Why me?" she asked. Kobina turned to her. "Because when I look at you, I don't just see a beautiful face. I see a woman with fire in her soul. You don't chase attention. You carry silence like power. You make me want to be better." For a long moment, Ifya said nothing. Then she leaned in and kissed him, slowly, gently. That night, they lay together under a thin blanket, the storm still whispering outside. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't careless. It felt real. Kobina believed he had found something rare. Something true. But what he didn't know was this. Ifya had given herself to him not because she was in love, but because she was ready. Ready to finish what she had started. She had warned him before. Her words were never without meaning. Some hearts don't forget. Kobina slept beside her, smiling like a man who thought he had won. But in the silence, Ifya stared at the ceiling, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. And her smile? It was nothing like his. The morning after their night together, Kobina woke up with a full heart. He stretched, smiled, and looked at Ifya, who was already awake, sitting quietly by the window. "Good morning, beautiful," he said. She turned slowly, her face unreadable. "Morning." Kobina didn't notice the coldness in her voice. He kissed her on the cheek, dressed quickly, and promised to return later. But once outside, he didn't look back. By midday, he was already laughing with his friends at the square. The old Kobina had returned. In his mind, it was over. Challenge completed. Part 1. Time to move on. Days passed, and he didn't call. He didn't visit. He ignored Ifya's simple messages. "I hope you're well. Can we talk?" Was it all just a lie? Kobina read them, but never replied. One night, he blocked her number and went out drinking with his old crew. "She was sweet," he said with a grin, "but they all fall in the end." His friends laughed and clapped him on the back. Life was back to normal, or so he thought. It started with a tingle. Just a small itch on the back of his neck. He scratched it and forgot. By the next morning, the itching had spread across his chest. Red marks began to rise on his skin like tiny burns. He assumed it was a rash. But it got worse. By the third day, the red marks turned dark. His skin became rough and hot to the touch. He tried creams, cold baths, and even ground herbs his mother gave him. Nothing worked. And then came the smell, a thick, sour odor that clung to him no matter how many times he bathed. He began avoiding people. When he passed by, women held their noses. Even his friends stopped coming around. "Are you sick?" his mother asked, touching his forehead. "I'm fine," he said quickly, though he was sweating and trembling. By the end of the week, his skin began to peel. His once smooth body turned into something dry, cracked, and painful. He couldn't wear shirts without wincing. His lips were swollen. His eyes always watery. At night, he barely slept. He finally went to the clinic in the next town. The nurse looked at his skin and stepped back. The doctor ran tests but found nothing. "We've never seen anything like this," he said. "It's like your body is rejecting itself." Desperate, Kobina returned home. He locked himself in his room and cried in silence. One night, his mother entered his room and gasped. "Kobina, what's happening to you?" He covered his face. "I don't know." She called a spiritual priest from a neighboring village, a man known for solving strange cases. When the priest arrived, he took one look at Kobina and shook his head. "This is not a sickness of the body," he said. He lit candles, poured libation, and went into deep prayer. After hours, he opened his eyes. "A woman has cursed you," he said slowly. "Not with anger, but with pain. A woman you played, one whose heart you shattered." Kobina's hands trembled. "But I've known many women," he whispered. "I don't know which one." The priest closed his eyes again, calling on the spirits to reveal the name. When he opened them, his voice was firm. "Ifya." Kobina's heart stopped. The girl who never smiled. The one who warned him. The one he left without a word. He whispered her name again, his voice cracking. "Ifya." When the priest said her name, Ifya, the room fell silent. Kobina's mother gasped, placing a hand over her mouth. His father, who had just entered the room with a bowl of hot water, dropped it. The bowl cracked, water spilling everywhere. "Ifya," his mother whispered. "The quiet girl with the big eyes." The priest nodded. "She is not what she appears to be." Kobina sat on the edge of his mat, too weak to stand. His skin had now turned blotchy and dry, cracking like old leather. The stench from his body made even the flies avoid him. But his mind was clear enough to remember every moment he spent with Ifya. Her stillness. Her eyes. Her words. Some hearts don't forget. If you're looking for a toy, look somewhere else. He had laughed then. Brushed it off. Thought she was just playing hard to get. But now, he saw the truth. "She cursed me," he asked the priest, his voice a dry whisper. "No," the priest said. "She didn't curse you with anger. She cursed you with purpose. This is a punishment that fits the wound you gave her. The kind of curse that comes from deep sorrow and betrayal." Kobina's mother fell to her knees. "What can we do to stop this? Please, my son is dying." The priest poured water over the fire, and the flames hissed. He packed his things and stood. "You must go to her," he said. "You must beg for her forgiveness with your own mouth. But know this, she may not give it easily. If her spirit has fully awakened, she may not be able to show mercy." Kobina's mother grabbed the priest's robe. "Please, is she a witch?" The priest looked down at her, his eyes calm but heavy. "She is not a witch in the way you fear," he replied. "She is a daughter of the wind, a soul born to correct what others break. She carries power older than this land. She was sent here for one reason, him." The next morning, with great effort, Kobina was carried into a wooden cart by his father and uncle. He could no longer walk. His legs were swollen, his face unrecognizable. The villagers watched in silence, some whispering, others shaking their heads. They made their way to Ifya's aunt's house, a quiet clay structure on the edge of the forest. When they arrived, the yard was empty. Kobina's father knocked gently. No answer. He knocked again, louder. Still silence. Then, the door creaked open. Ifya stood in the doorway. But something about her was different. Her skin glowed with a faint bronze light. Her eyes were darker, deeper. She wore a long brown cloth, and her hair, once braided, now flowed freely down her back like a waterfall. She looked like a young woman, and something more. She didn't speak. Kobina's mother rushed forward and dropped to her knees. "Please, Ifya. Please. Our son is dying. We know what he did was wrong. But we are begging you. Don't let him die like this." Ifya looked down at her calmly. "Why are you begging me?" she asked. "Did I curse him?" Kobina's mother blinked. "No, but..." "Then ask him," Ifya said, pointing to the broken man in the cart. "Let him speak." They turned to Kobina. With great pain, he lifted his head and tried to sit up. He looked into her eyes that no longer held warmth or sadness, just quiet power. "I'm sorry," he said, choking on the words. I lied to you. I played you. I thought you were just another girl. But you weren't." Ifya remained silent. Kobina continued, his voice trembling. "I don't know what you are now, but I know I deserve this. Still, if there's any part of you that remembers how we laughed, how we sat under the rain, please, forgive me." Ifya stepped forward and looked down at him. "You think you're the first," she said. "You think you're the only one who has played hearts like drums, then walked away without shame." Kobina's lips trembled. "You are not the first," she continued. "But you were chosen. Chosen for this lesson. You were proud of your playmaking. You wore it like a crown. So the spirits chose you to become the story others will learn from." She turned to his parents. "Take him back to the healer," she said. "Tell him he has my forgiveness, but not my love. Not my pity. Only my mercy." Kobina's father looked confused. "That's it." Ifya nodded. "That is enough. Whether he survives or not depends on how well he carries this lesson." Then she turned and walked back inside, closing the door gently. The journey back to the village was quiet. No one spoke. When they returned, the healer was waiting. After hearing what happened, he nodded. "Now we begin," he said. For days, he bathed Kobina in herbs, whispered old prayers, and fed him bitter roots. Slowly, the rotten skin began to heal. The smell faded. The pain lessened. But Kobina no longer smiled. He didn't speak unless spoken to. He didn't look at women. He barely ate. He had been healed on the outside. But inside, something had changed forever. Weeks passed, and though Kobina's body slowly recovered, his spirit remained broken. He no longer joked. He no longer flirted. He barely left his room. The once proud charmer of Nkwa village was now a quiet man with sad eyes and a limp in his step. People talked. They pointed when he passed, some with pity, some with fear. Others whispered that he had died and returned different. Children stared at him. Girls avoided him. Friends stopped visiting. But none of that mattered to Kobina. His days were slow and silent. He didn't smile. He didn't chase. He barely even spoke. One day, the village healer came to visit. He sat beside Kobina and stared at him for a long time. Then he said, "Your body has healed, but your heart is still sick." Kobina looked away. "Maybe it's better this way," he muttered. The healer shook his head. "You've been given a second chance, Kobina. But second chances mean nothing if you live like a ghost." "I can't go back," Kobina said. "I can't look at another woman. I'm scared." "Good," the healer replied. "Fear is the first step toward wisdom. But don't let fear become your prison." Kobina looked up at the old man. His eyes were tired, but something flickered inside them, hope, maybe. Or maybe just the need for understanding. "Can I see her?" he asked softly. "Ifya." The healer nodded. "You can try. But she is no longer in the village." Kobina sat up straight. She left. She left her aunt's house weeks ago. Moved deeper into the forest, where the land is quiet and the air is old. That is where she belongs now. Kobina was silent for a long time. Then he stood, shakily. Take me to her. The forest path was narrow and quiet. Birds chirped high in the trees. The air smelled of earth and leaves. The deeper they went, the colder the wind became. Kobina walked slowly, leaning on a carved wooden stick. The healer led the way, his steps firm and sure. After nearly an hour, they reached a clearing surrounded by ancient trees. In the center stood a small round hut made of clay and woven straw. Smoke curled gently from its roof. A white cloth fluttered from the door. She is inside, the healer said. I will wait here. Kobina nodded and stepped forward. He raised a hand and knocked once. No answer. He knocked again. The door creaked open by itself. Inside, Ifya stood beside a clay pot, stirring a mixture of herbs. She did not look surprised to see him. You came, she said simply. Kobina stepped in slowly, eyes scanning the room. It was clean, warm, and smelled of roots and smoke. Strange symbols were drawn on the walls. I wanted to see you, he said. I wanted to thank you, and ask questions. Ifya turned and looked at him. Her eyes were different now, deeper, wiser, more powerful. You already have your answer, she said. Kobina swallowed hard. I need to understand. Who are you, really? Ifya walked over to a low stool and sat down. She motioned for him to sit across from her. I was once like any other girl, she began. I loved. I trusted. And I was broken. She looked into the fire as she spoke. But my pain didn't die. It woke something ancient. My mother's mother was a healer. Her mother was a watcher. I was chosen to carry their spirit, to protect the hearts of women and punish the ones who play with them like toys. Kobina felt cold. So I was a target? No, she said. You were a test. A test, he repeated. Ifya nodded. You could have changed. You could have walked away, been honest, been kind. But you chose the same road again. You thought I was like the others. That's why the spirits chose me for you. Kobina dropped his head. I didn't know, he whispered. I was stupid. I thought love was a game. And how do you feel now, she asked. Like I'm living with ashes inside me, he said. Like something in me died that night. Good, she said softly. Because something needed to die. The boy who walked into my life thinking he was a king, he needed to go. Maybe now, a man can be born. They sat in silence. The fire crackled. Wind blew gently through the trees outside. Then Ifya said, You're not cursed anymore, Kobina. But the memory of what you did will stay with you. That's how the spirits teach us, by leaving scars where the lessons must remain. Kobina nodded, eyes wet. I don't want to hurt anyone again, he said. I want to do something better with my life. Then do it, she replied. Not for me. For the women you'll never meet. For the ones you might have hurt if this lesson had not come. He stood slowly, the pain in his joints still lingering but lighter than before. Will I see you again? He asked. Ifya smiled for the first time. No. I don't belong in your world anymore. My work is not done. There are others like you. Others who need to feel what you felt. Kobina bowed his head. Then, thank you, he said. She nodded once. As he turned to leave, she called out to him one last time. Kobina. He stopped and looked back. Next time you meet a woman, she said, see her heart first. Not her face. Or you might find yourself in the arms of another lesson. He smiled faintly. I remember. And with that, he stepped out of the hut and into the forest path, feeling like he had walked out of one life and into another. The forest behind him felt like a closed chapter. Each step Kwabena took away from Ifia's hut was heavy, but also freeing. For the first time in his life, he felt like a man who had truly seen himself. The healer waited patiently near the clearing, and when Kwabena returned, they exchanged no words. There was no need. The healer could see the difference, not just in Kwabena's walk, but in his spirit. They returned to Nkwa village just before sunset. The sky burned orange and pink, and the breeze carried the scent of roasted maize and palm oil from the market. The village was alive with noise and color, but to Kwabena, everything now felt different. He no longer saw women as trophies. No longer listened for flirty laughter or playful giggles. Instead, he noticed things he had never paid attention to before: the tired mother balancing a baby and a basket, the girl reading quietly under the mango tree, the old woman sweeping her compound with patience and pride. He saw humans, not targets. In the days that followed, Kwabena began a new routine. He helped his mother around the house, cooking, cleaning, even farming. At first, she was confused. "You? In the kitchen? Are you feeling sick again?" she asked, half joking. But he only smiled and kept washing the plates. "No, Mama. I just want to do better." He began visiting the elders of the village, sitting quietly during their evening fireside talks, listening more than he spoke. When one of the elders asked, "Why the sudden change, Kwabena?" he replied simply, "I met someone who reminded me that people are not toys. That hearts are not for games." The elders nodded, understanding more than he said. Eventually, word of his transformation spread. Some villagers remained suspicious. Others were curious. But many young men began to approach him, especially the ones who had once followed his careless ways. "Is it true you were cursed?" one boy asked. Kwabena nodded. "Yes." "By a witch," another whispered. "No," he replied calmly. "By a woman who had every reason to break me. And she did, so that I could build something better." These boys began to follow him, not out of fear, but out of respect. He started teaching them about honesty, responsibility, and how to treat women with kindness. He didn't shout or preach. He just told them his story, piece by piece, with honesty. One day, Kwabena went to the community center and asked the village chief for permission to start a group for young boys. "Teach them what?" the chief asked. "How to be men without causing pain," Kwabena answered. The chief looked at him long and hard, then smiled. "Maybe your pain was not wasted after all." So the group was formed. Every week, young men gathered to talk, learn, and grow. They called it the Circle of Truth. And Kwabena led them, not as a perfect man, but as one who had walked through fire and come out with ashes still on his skin. As months passed, people stopped calling him the butterfly. That name faded, replaced by whispers of a new one, Kwabena the Wise. He no longer chased love. He didn't need to. Women who once avoided him now nodded respectfully. Mothers who once warned their daughters now said, "He's not who he used to be." But Kwabena kept his distance. Not because he was afraid, but because he knew the heart needed healing, too. His would take time. Then one market day, as he was helping an old woman carry a basket of yams, he felt a strange breeze. It brushed against his neck like a whisper from the past. He turned, and for just a second, he thought he saw her. Ifya. Not in a crowd. Not in full. Just a figure in white, standing near the edge of the trees. Her hair loose. Her hands folded. He blinked. She was gone. But a voice echoed in his mind. "Next time you meet a woman, see her heart first. Not her face." He smiled to himself. "I see now," he whispered. Years later, people would speak of Kwabena as one of the most respected men in Kwa. Not for his strength, not for his looks, but for his journey. Mothers would tell their daughters, if a man has not suffered like Kwabena, he may not know how to love. Fathers would tell their sons, a heart is a sacred thing. If you doubt that, go ask Kwabena. And the young ones would sit under the moonlight, wide-eyed, as elders told them the tale of the boy who played with fire and met a woman whose silence spoke louder than screams. A woman who wasn't just a woman, but a spirit sent to remind the world that some hearts carry storms. And when broken, they don't cry. They rise.